What is the flipped classroom? Now, just by the name itself, you may come up with some ideas of what this may be. The word flipped hints to us that there's something about this classroom that is probably opposite to what we may traditionally think of it to be. So when I first heard this term, I was thinking that, oh, maybe that's the type of classroom where the students teach the teachers. But then I thought, maybe that might not pan out to be so effective long term. So I went ahead and I looked up to see what this flipped classroom was all about. So in a nutshell, I found out that the flipped classroom is basically the classroom of the future. Now, why would I say this? So the main idea behind the flipped classroom is that it cuts out the lecture time from the class period and it replaces it with full-time dedication to the application of concepts. So students watch pre-recorded lectures before attending class, and then once they arrive, they get right down to business. So this changes the role of the teacher from being the leader to being the guide. According to the company Newton, which has done a lot of research in this field, the flipped classroom has lowered the average number of freshmen failing English and math by over 30%. So we can see that this is pretty effective technique. So in some models of the flipped classroom, students will communicate with peers and teachers via online discussions, or they may take quizzes after they view the lectures and get immediate feedback. The lecture may be split into several short videos or into a single long one. So some teachers fully engage their classroom in this method by having every class lecture online, while other teachers may do mix and match, where it's like half and half, or they only offer a select few of the lectures beforehand, and they do the majority of them in the class. So essentially, the way you decide to run your flipped classroom is up to you and what you're comfortable with. Now, there are several factors that make this concept remarkable. Number one, you're integrating technology with learning. Let's take a look at social media. What drives it? People go to these sites to look at pictures, watch videos, read status updates. Creating a video for the lecture will give students that familiar feeling of surfing the web for videos, except this time, they're learning. In this day and age, more and more teenagers are getting access to electronic devices, and so this allows them to watch the lectures when it's convenient to them. Which leads me to point number two. Students can go at their own paces. Whether the lecture is online or saved on some memory device, the student is able to play, pause, rewind, or fast forward the lecture until they get a proper understanding of the material. This puts the learning in the student's hands. Now back to the classroom for point number three. You get to monitor your students as they do their homework. Now by saying this, I don't mean you get to make sure they do their homework. That's just an added bonus. What I really mean is that you get to watch them as they go through their work step by step, see where they have hiccups, see where they have a missing link. And the best part is that you get to nip their misunderstandings right in the bud. This is a very important aspect of teaching. Countless students struggle with grasping a concept later on in their education because they just didn't get a proper foundation to start out with. Now to point number four. The flipped classroom does not take away from the collaborative work. Instead of students being introduced to the topic in class, they actually come to class already aware of what's going on, and they're able to work in groups and help others who are struggling to understand. Now, it may seem like this is an absolute win-win situation, but there are actually some things to consider before you dive headfirst into this new movement. For example, preparing and recording lectures will require a lot of time. Imagine trying to record lectures in addition to grading papers and balancing the rest of your activities. It takes a lot of dedication. Also, the process of transferring your lectures onto memory devices can be quite time-consuming, so you'll have to keep that in mind. Another thing is that you really have to be well-versed with your content. Know it backwards and forwards. You want to let the lectures be as clear as possible, because the students, they aren't there with you. And so if they get lost somewhere along the way, then the chances of you keeping their attention dramatically decreases after that point. With all that said, sometimes a hindrance can simply be the device that the student uses to watch the lectures. If his or her equipment doesn't support high-speed delivery of the video, then that can lead to frustration. Ensuring that your students have the right access to the videos is crucial to their success using this method. Before you start, you need to know what will work for your students. So all in all, I hope that you've been able to grasp the concept of the flipped classroom. It inverts our traditional teaching methods by making lectures available outside of the class in order to create more time for dynamic interaction inside the class. It may take a lot of work to get started, but since we want our students to succeed, it should be a challenge that we are more than willing to accept. Thank you.